It's really great to see everybody tonight, and I think I speak for all the folks at BCCAT to express my appreciation for those of you able to make it to come out to this celebration tonight. It means a lot. It'll mean a lot to, of course, the folks that we want to recognize. But I think it means a lot to the system where we just take a few moments socially to recognize people in the community of the post-secondary system and in the transfer system who are just, going above and beyond. And in her notes, Val calls them champions. In my working life in the system, I would call them exemplars, people who just did exemplary, or are doing exemplary things. And the nice thing about tonight is we'll get to tell a little story or two about our champions, our award winners, and they're inspiring stories. Val was able to put some notes together for me. I was reading them earlier. And I just love that. I loved, learning about what people are doing on behalf of the system and on behalf of students. And they, in the celebration, bringing us all together. So welcome to the BCCAT 2024 BCCAT Transfer Awards. This is the 10th anniversary of the awards, and they were created a decade ago in the 25th year of BCCAT to honor and acknowledge and celebrate those individuals who, through their dedication, collaboration, and leadership, contribute to the advancements of learner mobility in BC. And if some of you are on the Zoom this morning, I think we could all agree that is becoming so much more important every single year that this organization exists. We're seeing so much more relevance to the work that you're doing to make those pathways more accessible for students with all the challenges that they have. So this is our opportunity to celebrate those champions, whether they be individuals who help revitalize and refocus an articulation committee. But so much work gets done in the council at BCCAT by volunteers, quote unquote. I mean, for some institutions, maybe it's part of your assigned duties or something, or your workload, but really it's extra work over and above a teaching load or a department chair load or what have you. They dedicate themselves to improving or expanding transfer pathways, and it always boggles my mind how many thousands of those continue to exist, but also emerge, and to go above and beyond to support the educational journeys of BC students. And if you wanted to follow along a little bit with the award winners, and also read a little bit about the previous decade of award winners, there's a really nice little brochure that you could take home with you or follow along. Today we're delighted to present awards to two shining transfer stars. That's a great term, Val, but I agree. Shining stars in the system. PRICILLA Stone for the Rising Star Award, and to Emily GADZALA, if I'm pronouncing that right, for the Transfer and Articulation Service Award. So first, let's actually just clap there. How's that? There's a few woohoos in the audience, so feel free. I was at the watch party after lunch, and it was pretty sedate, I thought. And then they showed this video of people waving. I think that must have happened in the morning. Anyway, PRICILLA, we're going to first honor PRICILLA Stone with the Rising Star Award. The Rising Star Award recognizes individuals who, though somewhat early in their career, are early adopters, early rising stars. They demonstrate exceptional leadership and accomplishment in the area of transfer and articulation within the BC transfer system. Such a long sentence, but there's a lot more to it. In 2020, when PRICILLA Stone stepped into her role at Vancouver Community College, a wonderful institution locally here, as Articulation and Transfer Credit Officer, she hit the ground running. Within a short period of time, she undertook a key role in enabling articulation and transfer processes. And as we'll hear in the story, with a lot of institutions, and Selkirk was where I was for 30 years, unless you've got somebody kind of pushing that along or a team of people pushing off, it is very easy after a couple of years for outlines to become dated or processes to become a bit dusty. So Priscilla walked right into that, and she contributed significantly to the creation of VCC's newly approved prior learning assessment and recognition policies and processes. She's now responsible for responding to PLAR requests. As a strong advocate for students, she provides the information they need to document previous learning and experience. So cool, because we heard in one of the presentations today, for students coming even in from outside of BC as refugees who don't have the documentation. It's a perfect example of why you need Priscilla working at BC to say, what are we going to do when folks come to our doors and they don't have that kind of documentation? We need some process that is equitable and provides that access and participation. And students provide the information they need to document previous. So you see, I can sort of go off the script and then I lose my place. Anyway, as a result, Priscilla's work requests for PLAR have steadily increased, as have rates of approvals. And this is so neat to see. I mean, this is 2024, and we've been talking about PLAR for so long, but to see it actually start to increase, what that means is Priscilla has been developing a really good system. Her careful monitoring of VCC's transfer agreements is helping to move the college forward as a sending institution. In recent years, many of VCC's course outlines had become outdated, leading to the expiration of course articulations. So these contracts have a best before date. They need to be refreshed and renewed, and the conversations had. And again, it takes someone like Priscilla to make sure that happens. Because of Priscilla's work is now underway to significantly update and revise course outlines and rearticulation, this is a major step forward for BCC as a BC Transfer System member. That kind of work doesn't come without its share of burdens and responsibilities. So Priscilla shoulders a significant workload covering a wide range of responsibilities. Her position often involves training new employees from other academic and administrative areas on best practices in student mobility. And I've been on those calls where you have somebody from a sender or a receiver is saying, no, actually, that's not how it works. So here's how it should work, and this is why we need people like Priscilla. Student mobility, documenting processes, research and trend and best practices in the field of articulation, and reviewing educational agreements for consistency, legality, and accuracy. That's what serving students is about. They get different stories from different institutions, and if you don't have someone, again, kind of just saying, this is how we want to normalize these processes. In addition, she supports the work of BCCAT by providing valuable feedback and by assisting with the testing of the transfer credit system that Mike walked us through this morning, which amazing. She has proven herself to be proactive, responsive, and collaborative in her engagement with BCCAT and transfer partners. In many ways, Priscilla has shown herself to be a dedicated supporter of students and a vital part of BCC's community and the wider transfer community as well. Wow, all in a couple of years as a new employee. So Marnie Findlater, Assistant Registrar at BCC, has written a few quotes that I'll just share with you. It's always fun to hear from peers about why the awards. And then in this case for Priscilla, Marnie writes, Priscilla shows great compassion for our student body and passionately believes that everyone deserves access to quality education. That's the equity mandate of post-secondary in BC. Priscilla will always advocate for a resolution that benefits the student while maintaining the academic integrity of our institutions. Her dedication and interest to student mobility and recognition of prior learning and the possibilities it presents for improving student access at BCC are best represented by her dedication to and enthusiasm for her work in this field. So you need a keener doing this, and Priscilla is a keener. Priscilla's greatest attributes are not related to her position. She genuinely cares about people, which we should all do in education. She's always ready to lend an ear, a hand, or a shoulder. She consistently shows up prepared and energized. She's a singular spirit, and the Registrar's Office at BCC is a better place because of her diligence, skills, wisdom, and empathy. Love it. So with that, I hope Priscilla's able now to come up and join me to receive her award. And sometimes it's hard, isn't it? Yeah, come on up. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, and I've got a little extra few words to say that Val's helped me write. So Priscilla, together with your colleagues and associates, we recognize the extraordinary ways you've gone above and beyond to support learner access and mobility. Your commitment to improving transfer and articulation and your dedicated support of students and their educational journeys distinguish you as a rising star in BC's transfer community. So I'm honored to present you with this award. We do have another speaker, but let's just give Priscilla another round of applause.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to Marnie for nominating me, and to the endorsements that I received as well from the other members of the BCC community. It really does mean a lot to me to know that the work that I'm doing is recognized. It is moving people in the right direction, and knowing that I am able to help students achieve their academic goals does really mean a lot to me. So thank you.
All right, so now I'd like to welcome David Wells, Vice President Academic at BCC, to say a few words, and he'll also be presenting a gift, which it looks like he just did. Then we'll take a couple-minute break while I compose myself, and then we'll get to the next award. But come on now.
Thanks, Angus. Angus said beforehand that he was going to try and make a few gaffes so that my terrible process wouldn't look so bad, but he failed that miserably. So thank you very much. I'll always want to start off by locating myself. We are on the unceded and uncertain territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. My own ancestry, Cree Métis, so it's always important that I locate myself, and we're actually in an area that would be known as Kim-Kim-Alai. I'm going to read the notes. I usually tend to ad-lib, as people know, on occasion, but the notes that are written are actually quite lovely. And I'll probably do a lot worse job. So like Angus, I will try to look up and look down. A lot of things that Angus said are very much what we believe. Priscilla Stone is an exceptional transfer credit and articulation officer at Vancouver Community College. As the sole person in this role, she is a point person. She effectively manages change and ensures sustainable processes. Her compassion for students drives her commitment to making quality education accessible to all, recognizing diverse experiences and achievements. Priscilla's work enhances student mobility and supports pan-Canadian transfer opportunities, empowering students to advance their education and appreciate their worth. This dedication fosters academic accessibility and personalization of education journeys at BCC, celebrating individual successes. Her diligence, skills, and empathy make Registrar's Office of BCC a better place. And Angus spoke to some of this. You know, at BCC, and it's important to all institutions, but we always like to point out at BCC, the average age of our students coming to us is in the mid-30s. For most institutions, in their mid-20s. 29% of our students are English as a second language. That's not including international students. And so in both those measures, we stand in a fairly unique space. And for most of those students, they have an educational journey. They've had a route. They've had a process. This isn't a straight, short line. It's usually involved many different institutions, learning experiences. And we've long thought that, how do we do this better? Because we don't want people to regret those experiences, because the complex journey that students take is actually really valuable. It actually makes their learning and what they can do so much better by having had all those different things. But we don't want students to feel as though they've lost that work, that's a lost opportunity. And so I think that the work that Priscilla has done with the PLAR is something that was very important to us, is essential, because we're getting students coming to us. And I say this for all the work in my past, working with Indigenous communities, people that are coming to us in their 30s but may have on paper education that would suggest grade 10 or 11. We miss everything they've done in the past 15 to 20 years. And so that PLAR process is absolutely essential. So it's essential to have that dedication and that commitment to the process, but also the empathy and the ability to relate to those students and be their advocate. So that's my notes on this. Priscilla's invaluable. So thank you, Priscilla.
David said, make sure you make a couple of gaffes so that my speech looks really good. And I made a really big one. I did not do the territorial acknowledgement, so thank you for that. But what it did remind me was, imagine through the millennia, through time, since time immemorial, conversations like the one tonight, where we're celebrating exemplars, mentors, teachers, educators, people who are invested in the next generation of learner, have been happening on those traditional territories since time immemorial. And I just would have to express my gratitude to be part of that conversation going forward. So, and thank you to all of you. So our next award winner is it's a new award, I think. Is that correct, Val? The new award this year? Yeah. So this is going to go to Emily GADZALA or GADZALA? GADZALA. All right. It's the syllable that I've got to get. This is the Transfer and Articulation Service Award, and this is a very neat story because UNBC is the Northern University, and the work that Emily has done to support transfer pathways with colleague institutions, not just regionally and in the north, but throughout the province, is quite inspiring. So we're going to turn our attention to Emily. Emily serves as student advisor, Faculty of Environment at the University of Northern British Columbia. I was a year behind Kathy Lewis at UBC for our undergrad. And I've just always been inspired how UNBC got started in the 90s and has emerged as a world-class institution. Shortly, we will be presenting Emily with the Transfer and Articulation Service Award. This is a new award, introduced this year to commemorate BCCAT's 35th anniversary and the 10th anniversary of the BCCAT Transfer Awards. This award recognizes outstanding service in support of transfer and articulation for BC's post-secondary learners. We're recognizing Emily for her initiative in facilitating creation of a wide range of new transfer pathways and her commitment to working constructively and proactively with faculty to support a transfer and in support of transfer and articulation, and her exceptional dedication to serving students and to supporting their educational journey. So I'm assuming too that this is not just in the field necessarily of natural resources or environment, but if you're in one of those schools like we had at Selkirk, there's so many different disciplines and majors and pathways that students are choosing to go in a very highly volatile and changing field of science and practice. Emily's student-focused approach drives much of her work. In her role as an advisor, she meets students where they are, helping to move them forward towards completion of their credentials. And during the pandemic, she went above and beyond to make herself available through Zoom sessions. And many people did, but it sounds to me like Emily did more than the rest of us, and for individuals and groups. She also set up regular drop-in Zoom sessions. I know at my home institutions, that was a whole nother aspect of the pandemic that, of course, changed all of our lives, is how we interacted and advised students on academic matters and pathway matters. And Emily, it sounds like, has sort of led her institution through that. She also set up regular drop-in Zoom sessions. Accommodations helped her to ensure that students stayed on track, smoothly progressing through their educational programs. And she continues to provide drop-in sessions both in Zoom and in person to this day. And we all learned a lot about how to interact with students back in those times. So it's great to actually recognize someone who's kept that tradition going even after the pandemic has come and gone. The commitment to supporting learner mobility also lies at the heart of her hard-working efforts to create, update, and maintain 20 transfer pathways in her faculty. And she's working closely with UNBC's Department of Ecosystem Science and Management, and prior to this, students had not had ready access to these agreements. So unless you've got someone working in your, as you all know this, institution, who's putting that in front of students at these sessions on Zoom or in person, it might completely bypass them, and they would never have known they had that opportunity. So that's why we need people like Emily to really promote the system out there. Prior to that, they did not have access to agreements, and there was no process in place to ensure they aligned with the agreements in the BC Transfer Guide. So Emily, do you want to come up for your award? I've got a couple other things. Oh, I've got some stuff missing. Aha, okay. But you can stand there still. It's kind of unfair, isn't it, Priscilla? Oh, well, it's okay. We're among friends. Thanks, Val. Yeah, Val pointed out, you're missing a page, buddy. So Emily's colleagues took up the opportunity to put her forward for this new award, recognizing the extraordinary contributions she made in her role at UNBC and her remarkable commitment to expanding pathways and supporting student journeys. Dazine Huber, professor at UNBC's Faculty of Environment, and Tamara Sweet, undergraduate and articulation coordinator, Office of the Registrar, put forward the case for Emily's nomination with these words. Emily always seeks the best outcomes for individual students while also working with department faculty to maintain the integrity of our degrees and ensure desired degree level learning outcomes. This one really resonates with me. It's really hard, isn't it, to sit in a faculty member's office sometimes, particularly if you're in a larger research-intensive university, where so much of that faculty person's identity may be tied up with their definition of their course. And to sit down with them and say, let's look at this as an opportunity to articulate. Sometimes it's an easy conversation, sometimes not so much. I don't know if it's the same at UNBC, but it was for me. We're nominating Emily for the Transfer and Articulation Service Award for her exceptional, highly effective, innovative, and tireless work for students. We give Emily our strongest possible nomination for this award for incredible efforts that have made a major difference in the lives and careers of hundreds of students at UNBC. Hundreds of students. Her work has been instrumental in bringing a transfer student perspective to the draft agreements. And so again, empathy, looking through the eyes and world of experiences of the students, and her advice to the administering curriculum committee has helped to move the process towards the best possible outcomes for incoming students. Great way to end that sentence, the best possible outcome. So with that, Emily, now I can confer this award on you and congratulate you. Okay, so Emily, together with your colleagues and associates, we in this community recognize your commitment to serving students and to creating transfer pathways in support of learner access and mobility. Your dedication to improving transfer and articulation and to expanding pathways set you apart as an exemplar for all of us working in support of BC's post-secondary students. So for this reason, I'm honored to present you with this award. So, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. It was a real honor for Tamara and I to nominate Emily, and we're really glad that she was chosen. Emily is probably one of my favorite people at UNBC, working with her over the last several years now, almost 3 years. It's been a real pleasure. She is absolutely committed to students. I was just talking to her in the hallway to get a little bit of her background so I could add it to what I was going to say today. But she's been at UNBC for 10 years, and she started in residence and then student life and orientation. It's probably not in the right order. Orientation, recruitment, and advising. And so very, very committed to students and takes a student perspective to what we do when we're constructing these transfer agreements. It brings, there's these times when I'll be in her office and she'll have her whiteboard full of courses and lines going everywhere and trying to explaining well. It takes the complexities of why the way a particular transfer agreement is set up is not particularly working for students, and some things we might be able to do to change it, and then working with the faculty specifically to get those things changed. When we first started this task, our transfer agreements in our department, which covers 6 different degrees, 5 which have transfer agreements. With the system was basically a huge Excel sheet with the color coding everywhere and a bunch a bunch of paper syllabi in this huge filing cabinet, and it was not workable at all. And we have been able to change that, and it is an absolute, with full credit to Emily, because we could not have done it without this ongoing advice in terms of what students were saying to her, and her ability to assess the way that these transfer agreements are being constructed. And because of her and all of this work, working with faculty, we now have, I think, a much better, more transparent system. We're looking forward to even a better system coming along to help us. But over the last few years, we've been able to turn something into a system that we think is working well for students, and it is 100% because of what Emily has done. Our meetings are always a real joy to be at. We're able to discuss things in a really positive manner and work and move forward in a positive manner because of her perspective. And I very much appreciate you. Thank you so much.
So when UNBC changed from a 2-college system to a 5-faculty model, I knew I wanted to apply to be the permanent student advisor specifically for the faculty environment. Now, I had already been advising at that point for quite some time, so when I applied, I was shocked at the amount of people who told me, you know that there's going to be a lot of transfer students in that faculty, right? Or think of all the transfer credit cases you're going to have to figure out. Said as if that was a bad thing. I very quickly realized that it was specifically that. The transfer credit, the transfer students, and pulling all the files from students, making me feel like a little bit of an investigator, at times keeping my days spicy and interesting. As I spoke with more and more students, I realized quickly that my love of the student transition and the student experience was further being ignited. This career provided me with the opportunity to enhance it by, frankly, just listening and hearing students and what they were facing. So I made notes about the consistent themes, the concerns, the wins, the issues, the possibilities, much of which I'm sure Tamara Sweet, the undergraduate admissions and articulation coordinator, was sometimes tired of hearing as I would run into her office and say, hey, idea. So it was a lot of a, how about this, or what about that? Have we ever considered this? Or, okay, but why can't we do that? For Tamara, it was never a question of why I was asking, but rather how we were going to make it happen. She listened and she challenged me, encouraged me, and affirmed me. Simply put, I'm eternally thankful for Tamara's incredible contributions, support, and guidance. Now, my decision of actively choosing the faculty environment and actively choosing transfer students was strongly reinforced when Dr. Dezine Huber took on the role of pathway coordinator within the Department of Ecosystem Science and Management. The three of us started regularly meeting over coffee to take on and work towards the common goal. And it became abundantly clear from the get-go that it was going to be an incredible working group. Dezine's continued support and advocacy with the faculty has been relentless, and it is so incredibly valued. He has been a voice to amplify the voices, and for that, Dezine, I cannot thank you enough. By now, for all of you, it should be pretty clear that not only am I incredibly passionate about transfer student experience and streamlining processes to make them as transparent and smooth as possible, but also that I love my colleagues. It can be difficult when students leave their institutions that they have been at for a couple of years, or when a student is making the tough decision of moving away from home, or when students simply decide that they want to shake it up. When life can be so uncertain and so confusing, I truly feel that welcoming students to our institutions shouldn't be. I am so incredibly grateful to be considered and chosen for this award. I do not take this lightly, as I believe it speaks volumes to the hard work that we and you have put into enhancing the transfer student experience. The truth of it, if I can be really honest, is the real award is being able to continue working with and for our students alongside my incredible colleagues. So a big thank you to the committee, and a big thank you to Tamara and Dezine.
So we've got to make some noise, but after I'm finished. So that that marks the end of the 2024 BCCAT Transfer Awards ceremony. And just as again to reiterate, for 35 years, I was saying to somebody earlier that I just celebrated my 35th wedding anniversary this year, and it went by like this. And this 35 years has been chock full of achievement for this organization. BC's post-secondary transfer system has grown, it's strengthened, it's developed, and it's delivered for students. And this is due to the dedication and collaborative efforts of post-secondary partners like you in the room and our award winners as well. And as a result of those efforts, the people that we get up every day to work for, the students benefit from ever-increasing access, participation, and expanding pathways. So really congratulations to Emily and Priscilla for your achievements and the support of your colleagues, which is always so inspiring as well. And heartfelt thanks from all of us at BCCAT on behalf of the council and staff for all the work that you do. And have a great rest of the evening. I know there's a Canucks game on tonight, but just stay around for a wee bit longer and for some more chat, and we'll take some photos as well. Yes, thanks.